Hi, I'm Brianna Greenup, and this is a Garden Grove TV3 special news report. Today, I'm joined with Mayor Steve Jones. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mayor Jones.
Hi, Brianna. Thanks for having me.
So, I just want to start out. COVID-19, the cases have been rising all over Orange County and all over the country. How important is it for Garden Grove residents, businesses, and visitors to follow the health and safety guidelines like wearing masks and social distancing?
Yeah, I think we've all been hearing the story for several months now, so we all know what we're supposed to do. I think everybody did a good job in the first few months during the first wave of lockdown, and then I think maybe we were kidding ourselves that we got through it, and that might have just been a brief halftime intermission or something because we've seen the numbers spiking again. I realize there's a lot of mixed messages out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. But I sure hope that Garden Grove will kind of take a leading role within the county here to do the right thing, to be conscientious in light of all that uncertainty, by wearing masks, by practicing social distancing for as long as it takes until we get through this and we get a clear bill of health from the health officials that know what they're talking about. It's been a rough road, but I hope we can all hang in there.
Right. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So it's really great that Garden Grove is an example for other counties throughout Orange County, because as you know, it has kind of been a controversial topic, but I just encourage everybody to wear their masks and practice social distancing. So now I want to get into, can you tell me a little bit about your Reopen Garden Grove Advisory Committee and who's working with you, and what are some of the ideas for reopening the city safely?
Going back a few months ago, I'd say around mid-March, when the governor first issued the executive order that kind of rocked our world here in Garden Grove and in Orange County, I just wanted to be surrounded by a lot of bright minds, clear thinkers, analytical thinkers. And so I assembled a team, which I called the Mayor's Advisory Committee on COVID-19, just to have weekly meetings via Zoom. And then also conversations via just phone calls and whatnot in between to share notes and just try and understand the magnitude of what we were up against and how to deal with it. So I set out to create a group that was comprised of experts within various fields. So I had a doctor from Garden Grove Hospital. I had a nurse who works with all the nursing homes and convalescent homes in Garden Grove. I had a police chief from another city who lives in our city and is a resident of Garden Grove. I had a school principal who, again, works for a different school district but lives in Garden Grove as a resident. And then just various other business owners, restaurateurs. I just tried to create kind of a balanced group of people who represent the key decision-making components of how to deal with COVID-19 from a health standpoint, from a small business standpoint, particularly restaurant standpoint, as restaurants were getting closed. And it has proven to be very fruitful, just putting these great minds together to just talk.
And with that well-rounded group, what kind of ideas have you guys come up with to reopen the city safely?
I think the number one thing that we realized, aside from just the basics, right? I would say the basics are everything that we hear every day, and I think everyone knows this by now. It's the social distancing, the wearing masks. From a business standpoint, it's cleaning and disinfecting regularly. It was setting up spacers or plexiglass shields, or in some way being able to divide spaces, putting markings on the ground to help people respect social distancing. So all those, I would say, are the basic components that we've learned. But really, as a group, I think the big epiphany was that, or thus far, has been that in the end of the day, we believe large businesses will survive. It's not that we don't care about the large businesses also. We just have confidence that the Walmarts and Costco's and the big chains of the world will get through this and they'll live to see the other side. What we became most worried about is the small businesses. So it's the small mom and pops that have heart and soul and a mortgage loan against their house to prop up the business, and they're trying to make it through this time. And small businesses provide the heart and soul of any community. They provide the character and just the uniqueness that comes to Garden Grove and any other city, I believe. So I think we've become very focused on the small businesses and very protective of our small businesses, with a desire to help them get through this and see the other side profitably, however we can help as a group.
Yeah, Garden Grove has so many amazing small businesses and restaurants. Garden Grove has unbelievable food. Can you tell me a little bit about the Accessible Eateries program and how that could help those businesses continue to do business, especially with Gavin Newsom closing down indoor eating, as you know, recently? What is that, and how could that help them?
So the challenge with all the restaurants, even going back before this recent resurgence and perhaps a second wave of restrictions that we're feeling right now, is with the restrictions in place, it's hard for small businesses and particularly restaurants to be profitable. If you can only have one table, or if you shut down, so much of the restaurant in order to accommodate the distancing in between tables, it's hard for them to survive. So we try to get creative, and when I say we, I mean internally as a city, all of our wonderful staff and economic development and planning, trying to think through the details of how we can make creative accommodations during this interim time period. Also, as we mentioned before, my Reopen Garden Grove Mayor's Advisory Committee, a lot of great minds on there, restaurateurs of various levels offering their input. So Lisa Kim in our Economic Development Office came up with a very clever concept, which they call accessible eateries. The accessible reference means that we need to be conscientious and make sure that restaurants are still accessible to people with any type of ADA issues or challenges. So we needed to respect that first and foremost. But thereafter, it's basically a program that allows restaurants to come out onto their sidewalks, out into the parking lots, perhaps out into the streets to create little parklet spaces or to encroach into existing parking for the benefit of getting more table seating out in the open at a greater distance so that we can still accommodate more families with less parking than would normally be allowed by code. I personally hope that this sticks. I think it sounds fun to get restaurants outside, to get people out gathering and dining together at a safe distance out in the outside air in beautiful Southern California. So I hope this sticks, and I hope it isn't actually just an interim play, but I hope some of it will carry on and that we just learn to encourage more people to take Uber and Lyft and other forms of transportation to get to places instead of driving our air polluting vehicles around and taking up parking spaces. So I hope it changes the world. I hope we actually learn something from COVID, and at the end of all this, don't just go back to doing things exactly the way we had before.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's summertime, so it's a great time to be outside and be with family. Before I let you go, I wanted to also talk about how else does the city get information and resources? Can you touch on that a little bit for me, please?
Sure, and I think it themes in with what I touched on before, but our amazing staff here at City Hall does so much, and especially, like I said, with a focus on small business during this time frame. So there's a number of amazing programs that are available right now for small businesses that are facing COVID-related challenges. We've got various grant programs. We've got no-interest loan programs. County Supervisor Andrew Doe has disseminated $15 million to the first district, which includes Garden Grove. About $4.6 million of that is coming to Garden Grove through a third-party company that will administer various grants to small businesses. So I would encourage anyone in small business to reach out to our city, reach out to economic development, find out what's available. There's a whole myriad of different programs, both internally and externally, that we're trying to take people by the hand and walk them through getting access to those funds and helping encourage them to stay on track and keep that fighting spirit to see this through to the other side.
Yes. Support our local businesses. Is there anything else you would like to add to anything we've been talking about today?
These have been challenging times for sure. This is not what I think any of us had planned out for 2020 when we headed into it. But life has a way of doing that to us and just giving us fresh new challenges to face. So I think we're all getting a crash course in adaptability this year, in resiliency, and I think we're weathering through it. I know Garden Grove has very strong, it's strong to its core in terms of being a tight-knit community that watches out for one another. I've really enjoyed seeing so many different acts of kindness and generosity and compassion throughout this downturn. People who needed help getting groceries, people who needed food, healthcare workers who needed masks there on the front line, and just saw a lot of groups rally together resources to help each other. So that's very encouraging to say you can strip everything else away and we're still going to show just how strong we are as a community. And I believe that tight-knit community aspect will help us see this through, and within no time I think we'll be back up and running. We just have to hang in there for now. So still please practice precautions and wear the masks and do the distancing. Please take it seriously. It's very very real out there, and I think at this point we all know people who have been affected, or at least with some degree of separation. We know people who have been affected or experienced loss due to this pandemic. So it's a very real thing.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mayor Jones. I really appreciate all the hard work. Like you said, being adaptable in these hard times.
Thank you, Brianna. I really appreciate you having me today.
Awesome. And thank you guys for tuning in to our special news report. If you like this video, please subscribe. And if for more news updates, go like and follow our Facebook page. Reporting for TV3, I'm Brianna Greenup. Stay safe, Garden Grove.
Tip. Toss. Take action. Don't give mosquitoes a fighting chance.